Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana 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 Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Arjunānanda Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Gaura Hari Bol Hari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajikacharya Stottra Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vraja Bhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ki Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Srila Prabhupada Guru Puja Ki Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 14, entitled The Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening, and verse number 42. Ditiruvacha Vadham Bhagavata Sakshat Sunabodhara Bahuna Asha se putrayor mayam Ma kruddhat brahmanat prabhu
Madkrudhat pramanat prabhu.
Ditiruvacha Vadam Bhagavata Sakshat
Vadam Bhagavata Sakshat
Sunabodhara Bahuna
Sunabodhara Bahuna
Asha se putrayor mayam
Asase putrayomayam
Ma kruddhat brahmanat prabhu
Madkrudhat pramanat prabhu.
Ditiruvacha
Titiruvacha
Vadham Bhagavata Sakshat
Vadam Bhagavata Sakshat
Sunabodhara Bahuna
Sunabodhara Bahuna
Asha se putrayor mayam
Asase putrayomayam
Ma kruddhat brahmanat prabhu
Madkrudhat pramanat prabhu. Titiruvacha Vadam Bhagavata Sakshat Sunabodhara Bahuna Asase putrayomayam Makrudha Brahmana Prabhu. Dhitiruvacha Vadam Bhagavata Sakshat
Vadam Bhagavata Sakshat
Sunabodhara Bahuna
Sunabodhara Bahuna
Asase putrayomayam
Asase putrayo mayam
Makrudhat Brahmanat Prabhu.
Makroda Brahmana Prabhu
Ditiruvacha
Vadam Bhagavata Sakshat
Vadham Bhagavata Sakshat
Sunubodhara Bahuna
Sunabodhara Bahuna
Asase putrayo mayam
Asha se putrayor mayam
Makroda Brahmana Prabhu
Ma kruddhat brahmanat prabhu. Okay, word to word. Diti uvacha.
Titir Uvacha
Diti said.
Diti said
Vadham,
Vadam
the killing.
killing
Bhagavata,
Bhagavata
by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sakshat, directly.
Bhagavata
Sunabha, with a Sudarshan weapon. Udara,
Udhara,
very magnanimous.
very magnanimous.
Bahuna,
Bahuna,
by the arms.
by the arms.
Ashase,
Asase,
I desire.
I desire.
Putrayoho,
Putrayoho,
of the sons.
sons.
Mayam,
Mayam,
of mine.
of mine.
Ma, never be it so. Kruddhat, by the rage. Brahmanat,
Brahmana,
of the Brahmanas.
the Brahmanas.
Prabhu,
Prabhu,
O my husband.
oh my husband.
Translation and purport by Shri Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki. Diti said, it is very good that my sons will be magnanimously killed by the arms of the personality of Godhead with his Sudarshan weapon. O my husband, may they never be killed by the wrath of the Brahmana devotees. Purport. When Diti heard from her husband that the great souls would be angered by the activities of her sons, she was very anxious. She thought that her sons might be killed by the wrath of the Brahmanas. The Lord does not appear when the Brahmanas become angry at someone, because the wrath of Brahmana is sufficient in itself. He certainly appears, however, when his devotee simply becomes sorry. A devotee of the Lord never prays to the Lord to appear for the sake of the troubles the miscreants cause for him. And he never bothers him by asking for protection. Rather, the Lord is anxious to give protection to the devotees. Diti knew well that the killing of her sons by the Lord would also be his mercy, and therefore she says that the wheel and arms of the Lord are magnanimous. If someone is killed by the wheel of the Lord and is thus fortunate enough to see the arms of the Lord, that is sufficient for his liberation. Such good fortune is not achieved even by the great sages. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Utapad Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Translation, Diti said, "It is very good that my sons will be magnanimously killed by the arms of the personality of Godhead with his Sudarshan weapon. O my husband, may they never be killed by the wrath of the Brahmana devotees." Hare Krishna, before I begin, I would like to seek the blessings and well wishes of all the devotees present, so that I can speak something relevant and worthwhile. Actually, we see it's a repeated concept across the scriptures where there are people who offend the great souls, and by that offense they are cursed into lower destinations in the sometimes happens immediately, sometimes in the next life. But most important thing is, of course, see Prabhupada in the purport he mentions when Diti heard from her husband that the great souls would be angered. So that shows that these Brahmanas, what she is talking about, they are not normal, they are not the Brahmanas of the Kali Yuga. So in the Vedic civilization, Brahmanas were actually Brahmanas, not just by birth but mostly by qualities, and therefore they had the potency. And we will see who are the actual Brahmanas. That is mentioned in another purport of Sri Prabhupada. Can I have the wire? Let me show you one thing. Is it visible? Okay. This is today's verse. So actually same thing happened. See, Jada Bharata was also born in a Brahmana family, but he didn't want to get caught up in different duties of a Brahmana. His father wanted Jada Bharata to become a very nice Brahmana, learn the scriptures and teach, and thereby learn how to do yajna and teach, etc. But actually, Jada Bharata was more intelligent, that he understood, I don't want to get caught up in material duties, and therefore he was actually his father would actually tell him that when you go to bathroom, like if you go to the toilet, after using the toilet you should wash hands and feet. So what Jada Bharat would do, he would actually wash his hands and feet and then go to the toilet. He would, whatever his father would say, he would do opposite, just so that his father would feel that Jada Bharata is good for nothing. And therefore, finally we see later on when Jada Bharata, he is kidnapped by the dacoits, and finally he also later when Kali comes out, kills all the dacoits, and later on he is also caught by the ministers of the king, the palanquin carriers, also to be engaged as one of the palanquin carriers of King Rahugana. That time you see Rahugana gets irritated by Jada Bharata's behavior. Why? Because actually Jada Bharata is a Paramahamsa. That means Jada Bharata, when he was walking carrying the palanquin, he was actually looking at all the ants or insects on the ground. So since he was a Paramahamsa, he could see the Supreme Person of Godhead even in those living entities. Therefore, whenever he would put his next step, he would be very careful. So if there was an ant passing by, he would put a step well ahead. And sometimes if some other living creature would pass by, he would suddenly stop. So there was back and forth going, and which was not synchronous with other palanquin carriers. So what happened? King Rahugana was getting disturbed. So immediately he actually, using his sarcastic remarks, he was trying to criticize Jada Bharata. Why? Because if you want to really pinch the heart of the other person, you use sarcasm, isn't it? Like one example is given once in a preaching center. In the evening time, some devotees came back from school, college or something. So then 2 devotees were remaining for prasadam. So, and there was 1 bucket of sabji, of bendi sabji, but only bottom, say 20% was remaining of the bucket, small bucket. So now this one devotee comes and he took all the bendi sabji on his plate. And as he started eating, the other one more devotee was remaining. He also came. Then as he wanted to take some sabji, but he saw there's nothing in the bucket. So then he remarked, "Hey Prabhu, you have finished the whole bucket, you have finished half of the bucket, you have put it on your plate." So what did the other Prabhu reply? "No, I have put all of the sabji on my plate." So in this example, who is being sarcastic? No, both are being sarcastic. Because only 20% was remaining. So the Prabhu said, "I didn't, not just 20%, I actually took half of the bucket. So much was there." No, actually that Prabhu said, you have taken half bucket. There's only little sabji he had taken on the plate. And in reply, this Prabhu said, "Why half bucket? I have taken full bucket." Why? Because when you're sarcastic, you can really go deep into the other person's heart. So the same thing was employed even by King Rahugana to pinch Jada Bharata, to wake him up to his duty. But actually Jada Bharata, again, he heard all this. So what did actually King Rahugana say? He said, "Oh my dear Brahmana," or whoever he recognized him as, "so I think you are walking from a long distance," because he knew he is just now employed to carry my palanquin. But he is saying, you must be so tired because you are carrying me from long time," which wasn't true. Then he said, "Or maybe probably it's because you are too thin that you are not able to carry my palanquin properly." But was he thin? No, he was very hefty. That's the only reason they got him as one of the palanquin carriers. So like this he used sarcasm, but later on again Jada Bharata continued the same thing, that he was looking at the living entities and the palanquin wasn't being carried properly, which again agitated the king, and now king became very much irritated, and now he threatened to kill him. He said, "If you don't carry my palanquin, I will kill you, I will punish you," like that. So then Jada Bharata, out of his great compassion, he thought of advising, giving instructions to King Rahugana, and that's the time he opened his mouth to speak. And you will see the entire instruction given by Rahugana in the 5th canto. But after that, hearing him speak, what was the reaction of King Rahugana? Yeah, immediately he jumped from his palanquin and he offered full obeisances, prostrate obeisances to the Jada Bharata. Why? Because he understood this person who is able to speak like this, he is not an ordinary soul. So I must have offended him. So now you can see here in the same context, this is the verse he actually uses to appease our Jada Bharata. Maybe you can repeat after me. Naham Vishanke Suraraja Vajran Natraksha Shulana Yamasya Dandat Nagyarkya Soma Nilavittapastrach Shanke Brisham Brahma Kulavamanat. Yeah, can one of you read the translation?
My dear sir, I am not at all afraid of the thunderbolts of King Indra, nor am I afraid of the serpentine, piercing trident of Lord Shiva. I do not care about the punishment of Yamaraja, the superintendent of death, nor am I afraid of fire, scorching sun, moon, wind, nor the weapons of Kuvera. Yet I am afraid of offending a Brahmana. I am very much afraid of this.
Yeah. So he is saying offending a Brahmana is much, much more worse than actually attracting the negative glance of Lord Shiva, attracting the trident of Lord Shiva, or punishment by Yamraj, or even the too much the heat of the fire, scorching sun, moon, weapons of Kuvera, etc. He is not afraid of these, but he is afraid of the wrath of a Brahmana. Why? Elsewhere it is said because any other types of other causes of pain and misery, you see, you only die once. But the offense to a Vaishnava or devotee can take one, it can have the effect on the living entity for lifetime after lifetime. You see, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada completely smashed. So therefore, what Prabhupada says here, offending a Brahmana is very dangerous. And this was known to Maharaj Rahugan. Why? Because any civilized society, anyone knows that offense to superiors is Vaishnava Prad. Anyone, this is a symptom of a civilized society. Therefore, Maharaj Rahugan also knew it. He therefore frankly admitted his fault. And Prabhupada again compares all that, but none is considered as serious as offending a Brahmana. So therefore, you see, even Diti here, what is her fear? Her fear is if Supreme Person of Godhead comes, that's still okay. That means the offense is not much. But if I have enraged the Brahmanas, that is even such a deep offense that even Supreme Person of Godhead, he won't do anything. He won't protect me. And we have examples, so many examples of this, like Durvasa offending King Ambrish. And did the Supreme Lord do anything? He didn't do anything. He said, you surrender to Ambrish, go and beg forgiveness. Actually, you see, there is a very famous verse in this regard, Lord Shiva telling to Parvati, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnor aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samarchanam. Lord Shiva is telling of all the worshipable paraphernalia, of all worshipable items or people or anything, Lord Vishnu has to be worshipped. But there is one thing better than that. Then the word uses tadiyanam, which of course we translate it as the devotees. So actually anything which is used in worship of the Supreme Lord is actually tadiya. Tadiya means paraphernalia. So one point of something we can take home is anything which is used in Supreme Personality of God's service should never be offended. Even a mic, we cannot kick the mic stand because used in Krishna's service. You cannot, like I know there was sometimes Prabhupada's books are kept, you cannot cross over them. It's an offense. So even Tadiyanam we have to be very mindful about. But most important of all Tadiyas is the Vaishnava devotees. See, sometimes holy name is not different from Krishna that we know. But sometimes it can also come under the category of Tadiyanam. So even offense to the holy name one has to be very mindful about. We should not commit. We should be very scared. Actually, the symptom of an advanced devotee is that he is afraid of Maya. Usually in the neophyte stages, one actually thinks, what can Maya do to me? So they become very careless. Therefore, in the neophyte stages, to commit silly mistakes in spiritual life becomes very, people do not, they are not mindful about it. There's an English saying which says, the more you neglect conscience, the conscience will become blind. That means sometimes you do something wrong and you get a guilty feeling from inside the heart. probably I shouldn't have done this. You speak in a raising voice with the superior, you feel immediately, Paramatma gives a signal that you shouldn't have done this, not good. Because your interest is also active, right? Why? Because you're also attending classes. So now when the guilty feeling comes, then immediately using your mind you say, it's okay, that Prabhu was anyway wrong. So when you do that multiple times, then from inside the signal stops coming. Why? Because the conscience has become blind. So therefore many people, when they're killing animals, when first time they kill, there's some sort of a remorse, some sort of, you can say they get affected negatively. But gradually as they keep doing it, now there's no more effect on them. They can kill 20 chickens and they won't mind it, right? So therefore, similarly, now the Tadiyanam is the topmost of all Tadiya are the Vaishnava devotees. So therefore, when we offend the Vaishnavas, then it is very serious. But when we become blind to it, we offend, but we don't even care about it. We get a guilty feeling, but we don't care about it. And when this happens multiple times, then it becomes a serious problem. That time it becomes a Vaishnava prad and married elephant offense. So this is just to understand how serious, why Diti is so anxious about incurring the wrath of the Brahmana devotees. This you can understand from here. Because here our king Rahugana is comparing it with many other things. Better to be killed by Amraj, better to be punished by Shiva's trident, but not to incur the wrath of the Brahmanas. So let us understand who are those Brahmanas. See, we know in 10th canto, when Krishna he had a desire to view all the Vrajvasis and Vrindavan, like a bird's view, we say. So that time he actually, this demon called Trinavarta came and he carried Krishna to great heights in altitude. He took him to great heights. Of course, it was Krishna's desire to view Vrindavan, therefore he could carry Krishna. So Krishna became as light as a feather. So he saw Vrindavan, everything. Now he understood, actually my mother is calling, Yashodama is calling me. So I have to go back down and so that she's not anxious anymore. So now, but Trinavarta didn't have that idea. So therefore what did Krishna do? He held his neck and he became as heavy as a mountain. More heavier than the universe that Trinavarta could not carry. So he came crashing down and Trinavarta hit on a stone slab and died. So all the Vrajvasis came and they saw to their amazement that Krishna he didn't even get a scratch. Whereas Trinavarta's bones were into pieces. So seeing all this action, Nanda Maharaj, he immediately called his ministers and said that go and call those Brahmanas. Call for the Brahmanas and he gives the characteristics of the Brahmanas in this verse. He says, these Brahmanas, let them bless my child Krishna so that Krishna will be protected. Let's go through this. Ye suyanitadambesha himsa mana vivarjitaha na tesham satyashilanam ashisho vifalakritaha iti balakamadaya samarg yajur upakritehi jalai pavitraushadibhir abhishitya dvijottamaihi vachayitva swastayanam nandagopa samahitaha hutva chagnim dvijatibhyah pradad annam mahagunam. You see, ye is referring to those Brahmanas. So which Brahmanas did Nanda Maharaj call for? Any Brahmana who is lurking around in the street? No. First is one, Vivarjita means completely devoid of. Of what? Asuya, envy. Anrita means untruthfulness. Dambha, false pride. Irsha means grudges with other people, other living entities. Himsa, being disturbed by the opulence of others. That's also himsa. Why? Because when you're disturbed by the opulence of others, you actually pull them down or you cause trouble to them. Mana is false prestige. So vivarjitaha, one who has given up all these things. Why? Na tesham, okay, na means one who is not doing. Okay, tesham is of such brahmanas, satyashilanam.
Where is this verse?
This is 10, 7, 13 to 15.
10,
7, 13 to 15.
Say it again.
10.7.13, 14, 15. 3 verses. So in this you will see Satyashilanam is who are endowed with perfect Brahminical qualifications. Ashishaha is the blessings. Vifalaha means useless. So those Brahmanas who are not actually following these who don't have these qualities of being devoid from false prestige devoid of grudges, envy, jealousy, violence, etc., their blessings are useless. So Nanda Maharaj is telling, don't call for such brahmanas. Call for those brahmanas who actually have these wonderful qualities. You see here. Can one of you read this?
When brahmanas are free from envy, untruthfulness, unnecessary pride, grudges, disturbance by the opulence of others, and false prestige, their blessings never go in vain. Considering this, Nanda Maharaj soberly took Krishna on his lap and invited such truthful brahmanas to perform a ritualistic ceremony according to the holy hymns of the Sama Veda, Rig Veda, and Yajur
Yeah.
Veda.
So what do you see here? So those brahmanas who are free from these vices, they actually, their blessings never go in vain, because they have a potency. It's called, of course, tapobal, but it is much more than tapobal, where they have the capacity and or capability to bless others. So when actually even in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, one of them it says, actually when just by being truthful, our actions lead to fruition. That means if we are just completely truthful, then you put endeavor in something, Krishna will give the fruit. It is said. And it is said one more thing, by being completely clean, following the principle of shaucham, then actually one loses the desire for one's own body, he loses the attraction towards one's own body and the bodies towards others also. You see, it gives in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So you see, these qualities themselves are so important for all of us to practice. That actually, and that's why he is calling for these brahmanas. And see, the purport is even more important. Nanda Maharaj was very confident about the qualification of the brahmanas and their blessings. So he was fully confident that simply if the good brahmanas shower their blessings, the child Krishna would be happy. The blessings of qualified brahmanas can bring happiness not only to Krishna but to everyone. Okay. Yeah, so if Krishna can be blessed, actually Krishna doesn't require blessings. Yet Nanda Maharaj thought Krishna requires blessings of the brahmanas. What is then to be spoken about others? In human society, therefore, there must be an ideal class of men, brahmanas, who can bestow blessings upon others. That will be Kshatriyas, Vaishya, Shudra, and entire society, animals, plants, everything. Yeah, it is not that everyone should become a Shudra or Vaishya and human society will prosper. So Prabhupada is first telling that we need a Brahmanical society. And that Brahmanical society is not the Brahmana with a thread, 2 paisa thread and a wine bottle in his hand, not such Brahmanas. Actually, there are so many, even Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about the Kalira Chela, who actually put tilak and they also wear dhoti kurta, but inside they are only harnessing malicious desires. But these are the brahmanas with qualities like Satya, Shama, Dama and Titiksha. Yeah, Anand Maharaj invites qualified brahmanas. They may be caste brahmanas, we have respect for them, but their birth in brahmana families does not mean they are qualified to bestow blessings upon other members of human society. Okay, they are more. And yeah, this is the one. Vipratve sutram evahi. That means it's given in Bhagavatam 12:3. In Kali Yuga, simply by putting on a thread worth 2 paise, one becomes a brahmana. So such brahmanas were not called for by Nanda Maharaj, he said. As stated by Narad Muni, yasya yal lakshanam proktam, the symptoms of a brahmana stated in the Shastra. Of course, in this verse you will see what is the. If one shows the symptoms of being a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification. So therefore, if say Parshuram is born in a Brahmanical family, isn't it? He is son of Jamadagni, says Jamadagni. But his action is what? Kshatriya. So he should be accepted as a Kshatriya. Yeah. Yeah. Can you read this? This is also very important line. The blessings of Brahmanas.
The blessings of Brahmanas who are not envious, disturbed or puffed up with pride and false prestige, and who are fully qualified with truthfulness will be useful. Therefore, a class of men must be trained as Brahmanas from the very beginning.
Yeah. So you see here, Prabhupada is mentioning the same thing. Those Brahmanas who are not envious, disturbed or puffed up with pride and false prestige, and who are fully qualified with the quality of truthfulness. That's one thing the Brahmana is known for, and that's one thing which is still standing in Kali Yuga. So to be truthful is very important. Therefore, a class of men must be trained as Brahmanas from the very beginning. There are many more. It's a long purport, but it's filled with important statements. Yeah, so in the Krishna conscious movement, we are trying to introduce such Brahmanas in society. Brahmanas must ultimately be Vaishnava. This is the one I'm looking for. So, of all the Brahmanas, the topmost Brahmana is a Vaishnava. So, of all the qualities, he can be truthful, sense controlled, forgiving, tolerant, etc. But the topmost quality is Krishna Eka Sharanam. That means he is first of all the devotee of the Supreme Lord. So, just imagine even the Brahmanas with just these qualities and not yet a devotee of the Supreme Lord, they themselves are very potent. So, what to talk about those Vaishnavas who are actually the devotees of the Supreme Lord? So, therefore, they become even more potent. Yeah, and if one is a Vaishnava, he has already acquired the qualifications of a Brahmana, Prabhupada says. Yeah, then he is also a person who, he is a Brahma Bhuta. Brahmana is also Brahma Bhuta. That his consciousness is always in Brahman, therefore he is not affected by material necessities. Na shoshati kankshati, na kankshati. And this is one more important thing. In this age, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur introduced the sacred thread ceremony for his Vaishnava disciples with the idea that people should understand that when one becomes a Vaishnava, he has already acquired the qualifications of a Brahmana. Therefore, in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, those who are twice initiated so as to become Brahmanas must bear in mind their great responsibility to be truthful, control the mind and senses, be tolerant, and so on. Basically, they have to aim towards becoming a sadhu. What is that? Sadhu, sadhava, sadhu bhushanaha. Titikshava karunikaha, suhrida sarvadehinam, ajata shatta shantaha, sadhavo, sadhu bhushanaha. So these are the qualities of sadhus. This I think comes in Dhruva Charita. So where he says, Titiksha means tolerance, Karunikaha means merciful towards others and friendliness with all living beings. He doesn't envy others, there's no grudges with living entities. He's ready to join hands. Even if other person has problem with him, he has no problem with others. Example? Who's such an example? Ajatashatru is King Yudhishthir. He is a person for whom enemy is not born. That means what? From his side, he has no enemies. But from, of course, Duryodhana concerned, he was very much envious of King Yudhishthir. But himself, he is like a Vaishnava. He wants to join hands with everyone. He wants to collaborate. He wants to expand the mission. He wants to preach the glories of Supreme Lord. All this. Yeah. So when we do this as second initiated also, then their life will be successful, Prabhupada says. It was such Brahmanas that Nand Maharaj invited to chant the Vedic hymns, not ordinary Brahmanas. Okay, so this is, so you see, when you see these verses, you understand, therefore, Diti is very much affected, anxious that wrath of Brahmanas. She doesn't incur the wrath of the Brahmanas because they can even be Vaishnava Brahmanas. It's even more dangerous over Vaishnava Prad. See, in the purport, Prabhupada says one important statement that a Brahmana does never prays to the Supreme Lord for protection, for the sake of troubles the miscreants cause for him. So then why do the Brahmanas curse? So one thing we can understand, the different scriptural you can say references why Brahmanas curse, like in the scene of King Vena. King Vena was completely uncontrolled and he would not at all adhere to the instructions of the Brahmanas. So now for the sake of the society, for the higher sake, like even Chanakya says, for the sake of a village, a family can be, for the sake of family, a person within the family can be sacrificed. For the sake of the village, a family can be sacrificed. For the sake of the city, a village can be sacrificed. So he goes on like that. So similarly, for the sake of the society, the Brahmanas actually sometimes curse. And one is for the sake of society, because actually the Vedic civilization is always guided by the Brahmanas. Because Kshatriyas are mode of passion. They can do a lot. They can put in laws, enforce the laws, administrate and all these things. But they are passion. But the passion has to be controlled, guided by goodness. Otherwise it's like water body, like flood. Flood actually destroys, but when flood is channeled by goodness or controlled by the dams, it is actually potential resource of energy. So similarly, the Vedic civilization was always guided by the Brahmanas. That means they would set forth how the society should run, or they would teach the king how to rule. Therefore, in the Vedic times, you see any king it was King Dashrath. He was subordinate to Vishwamitra and Vasishta. Or Lord Ram also same. Or you see our even the recent times, King Chandragupta Maurya, he had Chanakya as his minister. King Vishwadevaraya, he had many saintly people in his kingdom like Purandara Das, Kanaka Das, Raghavendra Swami and all of that. So anyone who is actually a king, King Prataprudra has Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, isn't it? Why? Because in the Vedic civilization, for the civilization to run, they needed the wisdom and the guidance of Brahmanas. So I brought this point. Why? Because to understand how the Brahmanas sometimes curse for the sake of the society, especially when the king is corrupt. The Brahmanas don't want to. Actually, they have the potency to curse. Sometimes they don't want to curse. Why? Like Vishwamitra, he could have destroyed the demons. It is said in Ramayana, but still he went to get Lord Ram and Lakshman. Why? Who can say why? If he had enough potency to destroy the demons, why didn't he do it himself? Why did he get Lord Ram? Anyone? Okay, it's because Vishwamitra could do it, but you see, when Vishwamitra was doing tapasya for 60,000 years to attain Brahma Rishi, the platform Brahma Rishi, so that time he actually, first of all, he fell victim to lust, and his all tapasya was destroyed. Second, he again fell victim to anger. Again, his tapasya was destroyed. Why? Because when they pick up weapons, or when they not pick up weapons, when they take to anger, reacting on the platform of anger, their tapobal is destroyed. Whatever tapasya they have done, the fruits are destroyed. So therefore, Vishwamitra, if he would use his tapobal to destroy the demons, now again he has to work to get those tapobal back, those fruits of austerities. Then he can perform the yajna. And sometimes also the Brahmanas, they don't want to get down from the platform of goodness. So if they engage in these things, they will actually get down. Therefore, they engage the passionate Kshatriyas to do it. They don't want to come down. So therefore, to rule the society, sometimes they, of course, they curse for the sake of the society. And also they curse sometimes to deliver the fallen conditioned souls, as Narad Muni did for Nalakuvar and Manigriv. And because the sadhus' curses are blessings in disguise, so they were born in courtyard of Krishna, and Krishna actually delivered them. So these are some of the reasons why they actually curse. But generally, the sadhus don't curse. They depend on the Supreme Lord, especially if he is a Vaishnava Brahmana. So now you see, here Prabhupada is saying a devotee never prays for protection if there is trouble for himself. You can see that he never bothers him by asking for protection. But the Lord is anxious to give protection to the devotees. So when devotees such as King Ambrish, they don't take action. When Durvasa Muni plucked out a hair and called for a demon to destroy King Ambrish, that time King Ambrish didn't take any measure to protect himself. He didn't even pick up a shield. He didn't even defend himself. Why? Because he was completely dependent upon the Supreme Lord. All great souls actually treat miseries in coming in life as my own karma, bad karma. And if Krishna wants to protect me, he'll protect me. Of course, it's an exalted consciousness. So therefore, they don't take action themselves. They never react to troubles. They tolerate understanding it to be will of providence or Krishna's mercy. And they depend on the Lord. But the Lord doesn't leave the Vaishnava devotees, to be suffering like this. He actually protects them from miscreants. Why is the Supreme, another section is to be discussed, which is very important, is why are the Brahmanas very dear to the Supreme Lord? Anyone has anything to share? Why do you think the Brahmanas are very dear?
Why are they very dear?
Yeah, no, why are they dear? Yeah, we're dear to the Supreme Lord.
Well, there's Goho Brahmana Hitayacha. This is there because they're focused on worshipping the Lord, and as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Manmana Bhavama Bhakto Majadima Namaskuluma Tayam Atmanama Parayana. This is at least the function of the Vaishnava Brahmanas. Just, in general, doesn't mean that Brahmanas think about Krishna all the time, but the Vaishnavas particularly always think about Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, one thing is because they are always thinking of Supreme Lord and worshipping Him. Okay, anything else? Why is Krishna very much in towards protecting the Brahmanas?
Let him answer.
So, I don't remember the words, but it said that if you protect the religion, religion protects you. So, Brahmanas are the representation and they are the carriers of religion. So, that's why God protects them so that the religion is protected.
Yeah, very good. So, one is Dharmo Rakshiti Rakshitaha. That means Krishna protects the Brahmanas because they are the propagators of Brahmanical culture, which is the path for deliverance of the people in this material world. Yes, Maharaj.
Well, there's that verse, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Govardhana Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govardhana Namo Namaha, that Krishna is particularly partial to the cows and the Brahmanas. It doesn't exactly explain why, but it mentions the fact that particularly the Brahmanas and the cows. But of the two, cows are more important.
Thank you. So one more thing which I found, what attracts the Brahmanas to the Supreme Lord are the qualities of the Brahmanas. Let me just show you a different section. See, this is okay. This is when Prachetas, they heard the Gita from Lord Shiva, which they offered to Lord Vishnu. They were all joined. There were 10 brothers, Prachetas, but they were all joining hands and doing yajna together. So seeing this, the Supreme Lord from the yajna kund just appeared. And what was the quality? Why did he appear? He'll say, not because of the yajna they were doing. He was not pleased by the yajna they were doing. He was pleased by something higher. Can someone read the translation here? Of course, let us just read this thing. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Varam Vrinidhvam Bhadram Vo Yuyam Me Nipanandanaha Sauhardena Pratak Dharmas Tushtoham Sauradenava. Tushtoham means I'm satisfied with what? Sauradenava, with all your friendship. Can someone read the translation?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear sons of the King, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me."
Yeah. So what was the Supreme Lord attracted by? The quality of developing friendship with others, despite differences. See, you just imagine 10 people are together performing a yajna. How many differences there can be? For example, we all can go and try to perform Sankirtan. But now we are all thinking, when will this fellow end? I want to start singing. One can think. Or one can think, he has chosen such a boring tune. So let me look at something else. Or let me sit at the back and enjoy, relax. Or one can think, I want to play the mridanga for this kirtan. Why is he playing? So there can be so many different lines of thought when kirtan is going on, isn't it? Because when you bring 10 individuals, they all have the individuality. So to overcome the shortcomings of individuality and to bridge or use friendship to join hands and work together for the purpose of devotional service is not an easy thing. It's so difficult that when the Prachetas did it, the Supreme Lord appeared. Correct, no? Is that difficult? If you can do it, there will be Krishna in the center. Krishna will come from the yajna. But if you cannot do it, it is difficult. So therefore the thing is, one thing what Krishna is very much fond of is to see this friendliness. The quality of being able to cultivate friendship with all living entities. Not to find differences. Differences are there everywhere. Even within the Gaudiya Sampradaya there can be differences. Even in ISKCON there can be differences. So if you are looking for differences, it's not a big thing. But if you can join hands looking for commonalities, that is a big thing. That attracts Krishna very much. See, this is one quality. So he is pleased with mutual friendship that actually leads to devotional service. That is one, and there's one more. One more is for 2016. Just a minute, I'll show you. This is in the section of King Prithu, where, actually Gauranga Darshan Prabhu has given a lecture the title of the lecture is When 99 is greater than 100. When is 99 greater than 100?
When you add 1.
Sorry?
When you add 1.
No, I mean, of course.
Oh, sorry.
Actually, 99 became greater than 100 when King Prithu stopped his number of Ashwamedha Yajna to 99. But he got darshan of the Supreme Lord. Whereas Indra had 100 Ashwamedha Yajna, but he didn't get. Rather, he had to beg forgiveness from King Prithu. See chapter 20, verse number 16. Yeah. See, so what in King Prithu, seeing the pathetic, this behavior of King Indra, that he is trying to destroy my sacrifice, so he was also getting angry, and he first sent his son to get back the sacrificial horse, because Indra was actually taking shape of Brahmana and doing so many of a sadhu and trying to steal the horse again and again. So King Prithu thought this is enough. So he now started going behind, he wanted to go behind Indra and kill him once and for all. Now if you compare Indra and Prithu, who is right? Who is right? No one is right. Who have studied this thing section? Who is right? King Prithu and Prithu? Yeah, King Prithu, because he is doing his duty of doing. See, when they perform Ashwamedha Yajna, it beneficial the entire society. Entire kingdom is benefited. They are not doing for name and fame. But King Indra is wrong on his part because he is, he is jealous and envious. Why? Because he is even pulling down King Prithu. He is causing trouble to King Prithu. So therefore, of course, seemingly we understand King Prithu is right and Indra is wrong. But when Brahma descended, when King Prithu was about to kill Indra, Brahma descended. So whom did Brahma correct? Indra or Prithu? He corrected King Prithu. Why? Because you see, sometimes two devotees get into a quarrel. It can be verbal or they are having a cold war, they are not talking to one another. Now if you as a senior want to advise, whom will you advise? The one who can understand. So Indra was not able in that condition to understand the situation, because he was just thinking someone will break my 100 and he'll become Indra. That was the only thought process going in his mind, and he could not think of anything else. Therefore, Brahma went to King Prithu and he told her, King Prithu, you have descended to protect religion. But now because you are determined to do 100 sacrifices, what's happening? You are increasing irreligion. How irreligion? Because Indra is accepting a sadhu vesh, accepting the robes of sadhu and stealing. Now this example will go forward in society, and people will do the same thing in the future. And that's why that was how it was introduced. People wearing saffron robes and cheating people. This was the starting point because of Indra, Brahma says. So now he tells King Prithu, just be satisfied, because if you stop now, you will be protecting religion. And what did King Prithu say? He didn't argue. He didn't say, Brahmaji, I have one clarification. But what if he didn't put anything? He said, Brahma, if you are saying, I am ready to do it. And he just stopped, and he started giving out gifts to all the people who had assembled for the sacrifice. And so what is the quality being highlighted here? Being submissive to authorities, superiors. Second is also being ready to actually, what can this quality be? See, one is being submissive to the authorities, where he just obeyed. And second is not being determined to oppose the instructions. Because once Brahma said this is enough, he was ready. Understand? No? So if something is actually propagating dharma, so even if it is difficult to do it, you have to go in that direction. So that's another quality, what Prithu exhibited. So when he did this, immediately Lord Vishnu came with his Garuda carrier there. And I was hearing from one of the devotees, he was speaking, he said when Lord Vishnu came with his face tilted sideways, he was just observing Prithu for some time. And Prithu was getting nervous and embarrassed. What is Lord Vishnu doing? And he didn't know what to do. Because when Vishnu comes, everyone is looking at Vishnu. And who is Vishnu looking at? Prithu. Just like I heard when Prabhupada came to speak in one place, that time everyone in the audience was looking at Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was asking, where's Jananda? He was asking. So that means who is Jananda Prabhu? So you can understand the importance. So here everyone is witnessing the darshan of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and Vishnu is just taken aback by the qualities of King Prithu. And then he actually glorifies King Prithu, and in that glorification, one of the verses he says, he glorifies as such. It's very good to read. Varam chamat kanchana manavendra Vrishnishvateham gunashilayantritah Naham makhairvai sulabhastapobhir Yoge navayat samachittavarti. Yeah, can one of you read the translation?
My dear King, I am very captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior, and thus I am very favorably inclined towards you. You may therefore ask from me any benediction you like. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by the performance of sacrifices, severe austerities, or mystic yoga. But I always remain equipoised in the heart of one who is also equipoised in all circumstances.
Yeah. So I am very captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior. So therefore, see, we have seen so many examples and lot of points, but there are a couple of practical take-home points from this section, which we actually, maybe I'll take a couple of minutes to just say. It's already almost 9, 1 minute to 9, but I'll just need a couple of minutes to just to finish the practical take-home points. So one thing is, we need to put endeavors in cultivating these qualities: humility, tolerance, forgiveness. All these qualities, they're very much important. Yes, if we hear that harasya bhakti, that verse, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavata kinchana sarve gunes tatra samasate suraha. That means one who is actually a devotee of the Supreme Lord, he gets all the qualities of the demigods. But I heard from a senior devotee, he said that, of course, yes, if you are a devotee, it doesn't mean that you don't have to endeavor for these qualities, because the principle is always our endeavor, Krishna's mercy. So we have to, from our side, try to cultivate humility. From our side, cultivate forgiveness. From our side, try to cultivate tolerance. All these qualities we have to endeavor from our side to cultivate them. Then Krishna actually gives the actual humility, actual tolerance, so which you can even tolerate, like Ambrish Maharaj. That tolerance is Krishna's gift. That's not his endeavor. So when we endeavor, try our best, okay, let me just tolerate. That devotee is speaking in such a way that little hurting, but let me just tolerate. Yes, Prabhu, what you're saying is true. If you can say that, then Krishna will award the actual tolerance, where even something as big as what Durvas Muni did to Ambrish, we can also tolerate that. Depending and the epitome of tolerance is dependence on the Supreme Lord. You can actually tolerate so much because you're depending on the Supreme Lord. So that is one point. So other thing is also in the 4th canto, you will see Gunadikan Mudam Lipset Anukrosham Gunanabhat Maitrim Samanad Anvichen Natapai Abhibhuyate. It is Swambhu Manu tells Dhruva. He is telling how to deal with others. With superiors, don't be envious of them. That means don't think, oh, this fellow is only giving lecture when I give lecture. Don't think like that. So why? Rather he says, be respectful to the superiors. And second is the peers. How do you deal with peers? Don't boast about yourself. That means don't tell, Prabhu, do you know what all I did today? Do you know I learned this? Stop telling about yourself. When you meet a peer, ask him, Prabhu, how is your Krishna consciousness?
Where is this again? I was looking for this the other day.
This I haven't written down the reference. It starts with Gunadikan.
What's that?
I haven't written down the reference.
Oh, you don't have that.
Yeah, but it comes in 4th canto when Swambhu Manu is instructing Dhruva. Comes there. I can find the reference. Then he says, with friends, be friendly. With peers. That means ask Prabhu, how are you doing? How's the chanting going on? Would you like to share anything you have heard today? So let them do it. We don't have to always tell others how great we are. Because that is the normal general tendency. See, this I'm speaking from Prabhupada's purport to it. It comes in purport, Prabhupada says. So with superiors, don't be envious, be respectful. With peers, don't be boastful, be friendly. And with juniors, don't push them down. Rather, help them. Be a helping friend. Be compassionate towards juniors. So example is Yudhishthir. He was respectful even to Dhritarashtra, who had equal hand in causing troubles to Pandavas. He was friendly even to, of course, he was friendly to even Duryodhana and others. He was friendly. Of course, Duryodhana was junior. He was friendly to Krishna and other peers, Yudhishthir. And he was also compassionate to Duryodhana, who was his junior. Like when Duryodhana was caught by the Gandharva, he still told Arjuna and Bhima, who were very happy, that don't be so happy, we have to go and help Duryodhana. So that is Yudhishthira. On the other hand, Duryodhana, he was envious of his seniors, like Yudhishthira. He was boastful with his equals, like Arjuna and Bhima. Therefore, he went to the forest. When they were in the forest, he wanted to show off, just see how well we are doing. That's the time he got caught by the Gandharva. And towards juniors like Draupadi, he was pushing, he actually started this, he ordered Dushasana to disrobe Draupadi. So he was not compassionate. So Yudhishthira and Duryodhana, we can easily contrast and understand, analyze. So that is one. So then it says, na tapai rabi bhuyate means when you do this, you will actually overcome all the miseries that comes from relationships. Cold wars, conflicts, quarrels, everything will be, Bhagavatam says. So one more thing is, and not just devotees, we should also cultivate respect to all living entities. And even amongst devotees, it's good if someone is, one is joined like 10 years ago in Krishna consciousness. But someone just 3-4 years ago, he joined Krishna consciousness and he has got a position in the temple, managerial position. So just because he has got position, we should also respect him for the position. He may not be a learned person. He may not be very advanced, but we should still respect him for his position. Sometimes young people are made temple presidents also. Still we have to respect them. Very important. Why? Because position can be given, respect should be given according to position, according to age. Some people would have joined recently, but he is like a 50-year-old man. We should still respect him for his age. So when we do all this, then we actually can avoid troubles. And one more thing is, this Raisham Prabhu says, useless talks lead to arguments, which lead to fault finding, which lead to blasphemy. So it all starts with the point of useless talks. Therefore, we should cut down on useless talks. Then we can cut down on Vaishnava Prad. Then other point in practical points is, we have to uplift our vision from material to spiritual. That means, you see, there's a verse by Prabhupada Saraswati where he says, Arche Vishnu Shiladir, Guru Shunaramatir, Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. And of course, he also says, considering the sound vibration, the holy name, to be ordinary sound vibration. So basically, he says, what are the spiritual objects and how a person can view it in a mundane vision. If you see a Saligram Shila, you can say it's an ordinary stone. That's a mundane vision. Spiritual vision is, it's worshipable. When you see Vaishnavas, you can say, oh, he's an American devotee. What will he know? He is an African devotee. What will he know? So it's the Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. You are seeing the Jati. So therefore, or this Prabhu is coming from this background. It's all Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. So Vaishnavas are worshipable, but when you see them in a mundane vision, then you actually put them down. That's when we actually take them cheaply. And Guru Shunaramatir. That means we see Guru, if we stay too close to Guru, we see, I am also sleeping, he also sleeps. I also eat, he also eats. I also speak, he also speaks. Actually, there's not much difference between me and my Guru. So such thought can creep in. So which actually makes us view him materially. So therefore, let us keep our vision on a spiritual platform. That is by keeping our intelligence sharp by regular hearing and reading program. And of course, we offend devotees when we think we're better than them. And two important nice points. One more point is cultivating appreciation for the devotees. Generally, in our preaching centers, we actually encourage the student devotees to always maintain an appreciation notebook, because it's so, Kale Dosha Nidhe Rajan. In today is it's a Dosha Nidhe, that's ocean of faults, very easy to observe. So what we recommend is having a notebook where every page or every different sections for some pages can be allocated for a particular devotee. And whenever you see a good quality, write it down. And next time when you see a bad quality, remember the good quality. He may be doing this, but he also does this. So that's also very important, cultivating appreciation. And two very important, nice points I heard from his spiritual master in his lecture, which I'll end. One is, he says, whenever you see a devotee, sometimes you may not like him. Don't see the devotee in relationship with yourself. Like a devotee you may see, but you can immediately remember an incident where he would have offended you. You felt offended in his presence. So don't remember that, or don't recall that, but see how he is actually serving the Supreme Lord. So therefore, don't focus on your relationship with the devotee, but focus on his relationship with the Supreme Lord, his Guru and Krishna. So when we see that how a devotee is behaving with his Guru and with the Supreme Lord, that will actually bring out respect. Because sometimes devotees may not know how to behave in a society, but they always are very respectful. They're chanting 16 rounds. So with their Guru and Krishna, he is having a very good relationship, but may not be with you. So don't focus on the relationship between you and him, but see that he is such a nice devotee of his Guru and disciple of his Guru and devotee of Krishna. So focus on that relationship. Another thing is whenever sometimes one of the most important, one of the prime, you can say causes of fault finding, I think sometimes envy. When another devotee is doing much better than us. So my spiritual master said in one lecture, whenever you see some other devotees doing better than you, you can always think that it's Krishna. See, Krishna says everything is my splendor, spark of my splendor. So you should see that, oh, this devotee is so nice that Krishna is manifesting through him. But when you associate that quality with the devotee, it's he is such a nice, he can recite nice shlokas, he can sing nicely. So it's not his capability. See it as Krishna's capability manifesting through him. Then you will be actually peaceful. Because can you envy the Supreme Lord? I mean, we are envying, but that is of not much use because you can never become the Supreme Lord. But when we think he is such a nice singer, then we think I also want to be better than him. Then the doership mentality creeps in. So I thought these two are very nice tips from what I heard from the spiritual master. But of course, many other practical tips also be discussed. And maybe we'll stop here because it's too late. Okay. Hare Krishna. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Sri Prabhupada ki.